Hey everyone, Jeremy here. Welcome back to another video in the tone sample series. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the Slate Digital Overloud TH-U to get this tone. All right, everyone, welcome back. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Slate Digital Overloud TH-U Slate Edition. So this is an amp, cab, and effects modeler. It has 39 amps, 39 cabs, all sorts of different effects and pedals, amp tweaks. It has a standalone plugin as well, so you don't even have to run it through your DAW. So let's go ahead and use this to build the tone that you just heard in the sample. So we're going to open up Logic here, and I've got a couple DI tracks ready to go. So here's what those sound like. So you can hear those are just direct input. I do have just some slight EQ and compression going on those, but let's go ahead and pull up TH-U and just start building out this tone. So as you can see, we've got an empty slate. So let's start with a pedal. Let's go ahead and pull in the Tube 9. And if you hover over these, it actually tells you what it's modeled after. So this is called the Tube 9 in TH-U, but it's actually modeled after an Ibanez Tube Screamer, which I've actually got sitting on my desktop right here. But we're going to use the digital version in the plugin here. So we've got our Tube Screamer. I'm going to pull the drive all the way down. And let me zoom in a little bit so maybe you can see this better. So I've got the drive all the way down. I'm going to bring up the tone a bit, level down maybe just a little bit. And now let's go ahead and get a head in here. Let's get an amp. Let's go ahead and grab, as you can see, there's a bunch of different ones in here. And I think the one I want to go with is the Randall T2 Boost. So let's pull that in. Now, because I want to be able to run different cabinets, multiple cabinets with multiple mics, I'm going to go ahead and split the chain here. So if we go ahead and pull this parallel patch in here, now we've got two different chains that we can set up. So let's go ahead and start pulling in some cabinets. Let's go ahead and pull in a 4x12 heavy, which is based on a Peavey 5150 cabinet. Let's go ahead and pull in a 4x12 modern, which is based on the Mesa Boogie 4x12 rectifier cabinet. And let's go ahead and start messing with some of the microphones here. All right, with that track soloed, let's go ahead and start listening to different mic combinations and see what we like. So this is what it sounds like right now with the basic settings of the Randall T2 into the Peavey 5150 and the Mesa Boogie rectifier cabinets, with one SM57 looks like right up the middle on the speaker. So not too bad, but you can actually isolate the different chains here. So we can isolate the Peavey 5150 or the Mesa Boogie just by sliding this slider here between 1 and 2. So this is going to be the one Peavey 5150 cabinet. And this would be the Mesa. And so let's go ahead and go back to the Peavey, and then what we will do is if we double click this cabinet, we're going to get some settings here, and we can change the microphone A and microphone B. We can add a rear microphone, an ambience microphone. We can do a high pass, low pass, which I'm actually going to add the high pass. And then let's go ahead and add a slightly different mic. I kind of like the 121 ribbon mic here, so let's go ahead and add that. Let's bring its volume up to a little less than the 57. We'll do like -6. So we've got the 57 at 0, ribbon 121 at 6. I'm going to bring the ribbon in just a little bit here and just kind of see what this sounds like. Okay, so we can actually go ahead and loop this and just kind of listen to what it sounds like as we change this. So as you can see, you've got quite a bit that you can play around with here. So you've got all these different microphones and you can move them around and you get all sorts of different tones just by moving it from the center to the outside. Obviously towards the center, you get that kind of higher end. You move it towards the outside, you'd lose some of that clarity. But that can be actually kind of nice if you mix, something kind of mixed mics towards the middle of the cabinet to the outer part of the cabinet. It changes up the tone a good bit, but you can kind of get that combination of the two. So I'm going to leave this here for now, and then let's go ahead and start changing some of these settings in the Randall. All right, so let's move on to the Mesa cabinet. And I'm going to use the same mic setup, add the ribbon 121, bring the volume up to -6, and leave the 57 at 0. And I'm going to pull the ribbon in a bit, and I'm going to go ahead and loop this and just kind of move the mics around and see what we get here. Now what we can do is we can actually continue adding on additional cabinets, and we can actually turn the cabinet off. And just to show you what it sounds like, this would be just from the Randall T2 head amplifier with no cabinet, no impulse response whatsoever. This is the direct from the head. You can see it sounds all distorted, right? So there's no impulse responses happening there. So we can just turn off a cabinet and we can try different ones. So we're gonna go ahead and we'll pull in a 4x12 green UK, which is based on Marshall JCM 800 cab with greenback speakers. We'll pull in 4x12 vintage UK as well, based on JCM 800 with vintage 30 speakers. So we've got the Marshall with greenbacks and the Marshall with vintage 30s. So let's go ahead and we'll just stick with the vintage 30 cabinet for now with an SM57 and see what that sounds like. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do the same setup. We'll add a 121 ribbon mic on here. Bring it up to -6, okay. And then I'm gonna do the same thing with this cab so we can just kind of switch back and forth. So we'll do a ribbon 121 and -6 again. Okay, and I'm gonna add my high pass to all of these. All right, so now we are going to solo the vintage 30 Marshall cabinet and just kind of move the mics around here a little bit. See what we can get. All right, now let's do the Marshall with the greenbacks. All right, so as you can see, we've got tons of different options we can play with now. And this is all, again, just with the one Randall T2 amplifier. We can actually go ahead and we can pull in additional amplification as well. So we could do, let's see, we could do the Mesa Boogie dual rectifier. We could pull this one in. We could add that. The JCM 800, JCM 900, the angle fireball, all kinds of stuff. But what we're gonna do now is we'll just play with turning off and on some of these cabinets, and we're gonna pipe this right down the middle here, so we have the combination of the two. So real quick, let's listen to see what the Marshall greenback and the Vintage 30 cabinets sound like together. Okay, so that's what it sounds like. Now let's go ahead and do the Vintage 30 Marshall cab with the Peavey 5150 and see what that sounds like. Okay, and now let's do the Vintage 30 with the Mesa cabinet. All right, so as you can see, you've got all sorts of different combinations you can play with here. So now let's go ahead and save this as a preset. So if we click down here on the bottom left, you can click on one of the empty presets, click save, and then it's going to ask you what you want to name it. We're going to call it JF Test 1 for no specific reason at all. So now we've got that preset saved. So let's go to our second track. Let's solo it. Bring up TH-U. Now let's go to our preset. Double click it. Hit yes. It's going to load up the exact same setup that we had. So let's just give that a listen real quick. Okay. Now let's solo both of these together and see what we get. Okay, now what we can do is we can actually change the cabinets. Let's just swap these two cabinets completely so that we have the Peavey 5150 and the Marshall Vintage 30 cab on our right track. And on the left track, we're going to use the Marshall greenbacks with the Mesa Cab. So this is the difference here. I'm going to solo these back and forth so that you can hear them. So this is the right side, which has the Peavey 5150 and the Marshall Vintage 30. And here is the left side with the Marshall greenbacks and the Mesa Cab. And together. So let's see what this sounds like in our mix. All right, as you can see, the TH-U offers a ton of options here for dialing in a custom tone. We've only just barely scratched the surface. We used one amp, the Randall T2, with a few combinations of different cabinets and microphones, but we've only just barely scratched the surface. There are tons of different amplifiers, tons of cabinets. We've got effects, pedals, all sorts of stuff in here that we could start adding on to this to really dial in a very custom, unique tone that sits really well in our mix. All right, everyone, that is a wrap on this video. If you liked what you saw, please do subscribe, like, hit that bell so you're notified when I upload new videos. Please leave your comments. Let me know what you thought. I'll be dropping some presets in the description or the comments section of this video. So give those a listen. If you come up with some yourself, please share. I'd love to give them a try, see what you came up with. As always, thank you for watching and thanks for your support.